first, I would like to introduce our first student presenter for the night, Ron, who is a MFA student.
Should I share my screen right now? Hi there, this is Ran. And I'm really excited to be the first one to share my thesis projects in DT livestream. I'm a creative technologist and researcher who is interested in robotics and haptics. My thesis is EmotiTactor, Emotional Expression of Robotic Physical Contact. Talks about robots. You may think about industrial robots, military robots, or exoskeleton robots, this kind of hardcore robots. However, there's another series of robots that's more friendly looking and have closer connection to our daily life. They are called to be emotional robots. This is also the kind of robot that I am devoted myself into. And I made a bunch of robots in DT. Petney Robots is my first emotional robot designed to cure loneliness. And the Funeral for Robots is a storytelling installation I created to show my speculative view of human-robot relationship in the near future. And Dexter Robotics is the company I interned last summer. They created the world's first portable force feedback globe for VR environments. And I also created a bunch of tangible interaction devices in these 2 years. My goal is to improve the emotional expressiveness of the robots. How do you express your emotion? I start with this question because during my research, I find that artificial emotions are always based on the study of humans. We use verbal communication, facial expression, body language, eye gaze, and physical touch. The first 4 channels are well studied not only in the psychology, but also the human-robot interaction area. So I decided to go deeper into physical touch. Dr. Matthew Hurst's insight proved in his study that humans are able to decode the distinct emotions by communication via touch. Their study showed that fear, anger, sympathy, love, disgust, gratitude, these primary emotions were able to be decoded by humans through touch alone. And they also recorded all the most commonly used tactile behaviors that humans use to convey these target emotions. This study inspired me a lot, and I came up with the design question: what if the robots had the ability to express their emotions to humans via physical touch? So I redesigned the study. Here is a human-human touch study. They divided the participants into pairs. One is encoder, one is decoder, and the encoder needed to convey their emotions to decoder by touching them. And what I did is replace the role of encoder with the machinery interface. And the decoder needed to wear a earphone and also put their forearm inside the machine through a hole at the bottom of the foam board. The foam board was separated the decoder with the machine. They were designed to prevent all the destruction from non-tactile signals. Then I created my first prototype, Robotic Tactor Interface. Tactor here means tactile organ. And I ran 2 round studies with 20 participants in total. And the results show in the table that fear, disgust, happiness, anger, and sympathy were able to be decoded by humans through robotic touch. And the accuracy goes from 40 to 100%. And the chance level I said was to 25%. So all of them are significantly above chance level. And my research paper is accepted for publication in the work in progress track for ACM DIS 2020. This is my first academic paper. And based on my experimenting result, I created my new device, EmotiTactor Robot. It is made with softwood. So how does EmotiTactor express its emotion? Unfortunately, you cannot test it with your forearm physically, but at least I can show some documentation. There are 4 tactors on the device. Each of the tactor is aiming at conveying 1 or 2 target emotions through the specific programmed tactile behaviors. And the behaviors are according to the human touch study paper. And this line graph visualizes the servo motor's motion programmed with Arduino. I even created a dashboard. And if you are interested in it, you can go to my GitHub and have a check, can see how I set the parameters and create the functions. EmotiTactor is designed for future in emotional robot design, but it also has potential to be implemented into our daily life. Like the expressive theater set, you can imagine that when you are watching a movie and your armrest of the seat is touching you, and you may find that your seat is even timid than you when you are watching a horror movie. And touch your cushion is a toy that may show sympathy to help you fall asleep at night and wake you up with happiness. Timid watch belt, it is a belt that for smartwatch, it will show fear because the watch is almost out of power. And strict lid, it can be applied to a candy jar, and it will show its anger to you because you have already taken too many candies. For my future work, I plan to implement my research result into a wearable device for VR scenario, which can be more portable, and it might be in the form of a sleeve. Now it's time for appreciation. I would like to say thanks to Harpreet, who guides me into the academic area and tolerates me sending 5 emails a day. And also Larda, John, and Barbara, who helped a lot with my thesis project. Thanks to Kyle, who treats me the best and always trusts me. Thanks to Faye, who introduced Robot to me. Thanks to Justin, who always encouraged me. Thanks to my best friend Yating and Yufei, I will miss our corner on detail. And thanks to my virtual friend, Jerry. Thanks to my roommate, Zhou and Jiaqi. Thanks to all DT faculties and DTers. In the end, I should say thanks to my mom and dad, who always believe in me and support all the decisions I make. Thank you all. That's it.
Thank you, Ron. Now I would like to introduce Masa for our next student speaker, who is also an MFA student.
Oh, okay, I'll take over. Share the screen. Can you see my screen? All right. Can I start? Okay, so can I start? Okay, so hi everyone. Good evening, good morning, ohayo gozaimasu, participant from Japan. Thank you so much. And good afternoon. Thanks for watching my talk online. I'm Masaki from MFDT, I present a web experience named Wanderlust into your past. So first of all, coronavirus. I cannot avoid to mention about this. It changed everything about my thesis work and New York life. So now I live in New York. I'm accomplishing new Parsons. And I will experience new commencement this week. So as many of you know, currently under the strong top-down decision, I'm completely confined in my tiny room. Actually, I had been working on a completely different project until the pandemic happened. But when I experienced this situation and witnessed tragic news every day, I thought I need to present what I could do as a designer. So I started my thesis project again from scratch after the pandemic. But unfortunately, I cannot save patients from my room. So what can I do as a designer? So I dived into more personal context and researched grassroots solutions. So firstly, starts from me. I researched what kind of change happened to me. Actually, for me, thanks to digital technology, I can keep my body and mind healthy and motivated so far. Actually, communication, these games, also food, and of course this. So what else my changes? Oh, I forgot to say, my girlfriend was evacuated. So it means two people living together in my small room now. So what's happening? Look, this is the reality. We are sharing this tiny sphere for 24 hours, 7 days. So needless to say, there's no privacy, no romance, sad. And as a result of it, there's no communication. It's actually a terrible situation. And actually, media around the world also report a rise in domestic abuse and divorce cases in quarantine. Also, social studies demonstrate that there's a link between gendered violence and the Great Recession or devastating natural disasters. So I'd say we are facing the new social problem, how to coexist healthily with loved ones in quarantine life, where people live together every minute of every day in a confined space. So from this question, I started to explore solutions from the perspective of human-computer interaction. One possible area is mediating intimacy. There are a lot of precedents, and they mostly aim for distant couples using special devices. I applied this concept into more the coexisting partner in the confined space. The other keyword is memory sharing to create family bonds and mutual understandings in the family and couples. Physical and digital mementos are used as a trigger of communication and the interpersonal dialogue. So under the situation where new stress is happening, I wanted to create a more peaceful solution which encourages to re-emphasize and reconsider each other, and hopefully with an accessible way, without special devices, considering this situation, home quarantine situation. Okay, so in my case also, to access to our past memories is potential approach to repair our cracked relationship. But how? We will use Facebook's new app for couples? But imagine, it's so awkward. Why we each focus on the small screen, the small room? We want to go outside, travel somewhere. So travel. Travel is nice. So how about traveling to past memory? From this inspiration, I created the prototype. So Wanderlust into your past is a web-based experience for couples and families stuck at home due to the COVID-19 pandemic. You are seeing a University Center of Parsons, and now you are working in New York, 2009. It takes you and your partner to the past using the time machine feature of the Google Street View API. So once you start using, You were asked to input where you guys have been in the past. This is my case. I was in Asakusa, Tokyo, and my girlfriend was in Lansing, Michigan, 5 years ago. Once you input, it takes you to the nostalgic walk from home. Look, here's Asakusa, Tokyo in 2015. It's my hometown where I lived all my life until I came to Parsons. My original home is right around the corner. I was already watching them. We naturally started a really personal conversation. I missed a hot spring here, my favorite ramen restaurant, a lot of things to share. My girlfriend also curious about it and asked difficult questions like what kind of girlfriend I had at the time. And then we moved to Lansing, Michigan, where she spent her college life 5 years ago. We stopped at the dormitory she spent in college life and talked about life in here. It's a kind of poetic experience. I imagine the autumn leaves and temperature of the snowscapes of Michigan beyond the screen. Interestingly, we naturally talked about the future travel plan also, and we decided to go to Michigan after the quarantine. She wanted to introduce me to her university and the beautiful autumn leaves, so she has already started planning. Through this time travel experience, we are able to talk about personal memories and take prosocial actions for the future. So here's my experience in my quarantine. So this is a prototype of wandering into the past, but also it is an experience of heading towards the future. It started from my personal narrative, actually, but hoping to reconnect someone's broken relationship, I'm thinking to distribute it on GitHub. I'm adding the guiding UI with iterative online user tests to encourage users' interpersonal dialogues and collaborative actions towards the future. So I'm planning to distribute it via GitHub, so stay tuned. So last but not least, I want to mention about my design process this time. I think designers are always required to respond to social and business requirements. However, it is often very broad, like this coronavirus situation. So designers also need to narrow down to the super detailed level and personal context. I believe these swimming in multidisciplinary fields generate a creative solution with technology. Design mediates all of these realms. I got civic service design minor with design and technology major. So this is what I learned at Parsons through my swimming in the multidisciplinary ocean. I would like to keep working in this creative universe to envision our new normal. So thank you, Parsons. Thank you, friends, and thank you for your listening. That's it.
Thank you so much, Masa. That was amazing. Now I would like to introduce Iman, who is also an MFA student.
And I'm going to tell you about a project that is very dear to me, helping my community heal and progress. Young people of the African diaspora like myself are at alarmingly high risk of life dissatisfaction. Our community suicide rate from the age of 5 years old have been rampant in the past 20 years. So although I'm not targeting suicidal ideation, this is a clear sign that we need to do better. So why are we so prone to being so deeply unsatisfied with life? It's mostly due to persistent socio-environmental factors, such as access to economic resources or racial aggressions, on top of the existing challenges of just growing into adulthood. So even with these predispositions, we are much less likely than any other demographic to access professional mental health help for financial reasons, economic, but also cultural reasons. So I set out to create my thesis project in response to that. And I created an Afrofuturistic, transformational self-care experience to not only heal and restore the young African diaspora in the present, but also to prompt us to crystallize fulfilling life goals and trigger thought patterns that help us achieve them. Ashe, in its physical version, is a multisensory, in-person mental imagery experience. I'll walk you through it. I'll welcome you into the space and explain that I created this as a space for you to breathe, to heal, and to tap into your most powerful self yet, to align with the life vision that truly fulfills you. Then we get the space right for you. I'll ask what atmosphere feels most helpful. Is it relaxation, maybe creativity, or a reassuring sense of coziness? And whichever you need, I've got a custom essential oil blend ready. Then we focus on you. I want to hear your vision, and not a watered-down, self-limiting version of it. I'm talking dreams that set your soul on fire and make you feel alive. Telling me is great, but I also want you to show me, and to really show yourself. I'll give you space to feel it and project yourself in it. Next, you'll stand outside of the circle on the floor. It represents your circle of excellence. As you step into it, I'll guide you to meet a version of yourself you might not have met yet. Your most powerful self. You'll be able to capture its essence and call into existence all the beautiful experiences in store for you. Once you have, this powerful state that you've created lives and grows within you. So I'll show you how to nurture it and tap into it whenever you need. Before the pandemic, I tested a rough version of this experience with 8 Black young adults. During our testing session, Kay shared with me that she has depression. And when I asked her how the exercise went for her, she expressed feeling very emotional because every step of every day felt like a battle for her. She explained that the exercise had allowed her to see a different reality for herself. And she was saying how being in a spot where you're satisfied and you can breathe is so nice, even just for a moment. She explained it gave her a sense of relief and of everything is going to be okay. A few days after a testing session, T was going to pitch his startup concept to a large business community. And as he was a bit nervous before presenting, he replicated the circle of excellence in his own mind. And he later messaged me to share the rush of confidence that he felt. He said, I went into my circle of excellence, and it felt exhilarating to be in that space and to project that going forward. With the pandemic, I had to pause the physical experience and focus on the remote version of Ashe, a self-care routine for the home, accessible for free. I tested it with 9 young adults from the community, and it started with a call where I'd introduce why I created Ashe, help you identify the best time in the day for you to carry out the routine, and ways to create a relaxing space to do that wherever you are and whatever you have available. So I also would have you set up a daily reminder on your phone labeled Take Care of Me, and identified with you a place where you could find images that reflect the life that you want to create for yourself. And then finally, I'd walk you through the routine and answer any questions, and then send you a PDF of the routine steps. So the latest version of the routine happened in 3 steps. First, you set up a relaxing space in your home using one technique or objects specific to you that we've identified during the call. For example, Y liked to rub essential oils on her chest to help herself relax. 2, you mentally prepare for the experience. You get in the zone. 3 is where you carry out the mental imagery activity of the day. 3 days out of 5, you listen to an audio recording guiding you to visualize yourself as your most fulfilled, powerful, joyful self. And the remaining 2 days, you would save photos that reflect the life that you'd like to lead in a year using your preferred platform that we have identified during the call, and you mentally project yourself in these photos. Testing participants describe their experience as a prayer to yourself. as medicinal. And that came from someone who had severe anxiety and had been experiencing chronic chest pains. So he was explaining how the routine helped ease that anxiety. And healing. That person said it helped them break through limitations that they had on what they can achieve. So at the end of the session, testers would report feeling significantly more positive, determined, peaceful, as well as feeling less stressed and anxious. As days went by, feelings of positivity about both the present and the future remarkably increased. People also felt increasingly excited and inspired when thinking of the year ahead. They reported less and less uncertainty about their ability to achieve their life vision and increasing confidence to the point of feeling extremely confident, I quote, about their ability to get there. As days went by, more participants started the routine already in a state of confidence about the future. And by the end of the session, that level of self-efficacy would increase more starkly than in the early days. After the 5 days of the routine, there was a notable increase in positive feelings about the present, about the future, as well as a much stronger sense of self-efficacy in relation to their life vision. So how come? Ashe is based on mental imagery, the use of all senses to create or recreate an experience in the mind. This mental imagery is increasingly studied in neuroscience and behavioral psychology just because of the impact it has not only on our mind and behavior, but even on our bodies and physiology. Specifically, it targets the key factors of life satisfaction, stress levels, positive expectancy about the future, a sense of self-efficacy about your ability to handle what life will bring, and improve performance in the context of goal pursuits, so the goals that you are going after. So mental imagery is effective, it's available for free whenever someone needs it, and it's unburdened by the prejudices of the society that we live in. And that's why I chose to use it as a tool for self-creation, self-determination, and progress. Ashe integrates research-supported techniques drawn from neuroscience and behavioral psychology and explores them in the context of Afrofuturism, a cultural movement that reimagines and redefines the African diasporic narrative. End note, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the name Ashe. It comes from the Yoruba language, spoken mostly in Nigeria and Benin in West Africa. I'm Yoruba on my mom's side, and it translates into amen, or so will it be. It's a word of affirmation that refers to our power as living beings to create change and to manifest our will into reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Iman. Now I would like to introduce Rebecca, who is also an MFA student.
So public speaking is something that I've personally always been affected by, and I think it definitely has, had implications on my career. Right now, the way that you speak and present yourself is super important, both in person and virtually. So I wanted to concentrate my thesis on an issue that I personally have, as well as many other people, and try and come up with a solution using design and technology. So in my first semester, I did a lot of user research. I held interviews with both people that were nervous about public speaking, as well as people who are confident in that area. I also spoke to several experts in the field of public speaking and human-computer interaction. And I attended quite a few different workshops and meetings. Like I went to Toastmasters, which is a very well-known public speaking meetup. And I also went to improv classes just to kind of see what tools practitioners were using in the field to help people become more confident. And the main takeaway I got from all of my research was you're not going to improve on something unless you do it repetitively. So creating an environment for users to just practice their speaking like over and over again is what I was trying to achieve with my final project. So I'm building a product called Big Talk, which is a browser-based application that can be used on both mobile and desktop. It's designed to help users practice and improve their public speaking skills during various different scenarios such as presentations, job interviews, even wedding speeches. Users can create their own flashcards for different topics that they want to mention, or they can choose from a selection of pre-written prompts. The platform uses a spaced repetition learning method to help users memorize their talking points, whilst also giving them feedback on their voice modulation and content accuracy during practice. So just to explain the benefits of Big Talk, I can talk through a couple of potential use cases, the first being a job interview. For example, a job applicant might expect to be asked questions about teamwork, so they can create a new flashcard for this topic and write a script of exactly what they plan to say, word for word. When they later start practicing for their interview, Big Talk will compare their recorded speech with this written script and identify which words were matched and which words were forgotten. The user also has the option to tag each of their flashcards with a keyword, which Big Talk can listen for in the performance mode of the app. On the back of the flashcard, the user can add up to 3 bullet points to remind them of their script. And when they're ready to go into practice mode, they'll be able to review these bullet points whilst recording their speech. Once the user hits save, this flashcard will be added to their list of existing talking points. To start organizing all of their flashcards into a deck to practice with, the user can simply drag a talking point to the Create button, and this will bring up an overlay screen which will allow them to name the Big Talk as well as set a specific time limit. This will help the job applicant prepare to talk through all of their talking points succinctly without potentially running out of time. As it's a job interview, the user would probably want to practice their cards in a random sequence so that they're prepared for impromptu questions. Once the Big Talk has been created, the user can easily add and remove talking points from their selection. All of the cards within a deck can be reordered at the click of a button, and users can easily copy and reuse components from previous talks. Another potential use case could be a speech or an audition. A user can choose to practice a speech that they've prepared by double-clicking on the talk and opening up the practice overlay. As you can see, a timer on the top right of the screen automatically begins, so the user is aware of how long they have to wrap up their points. After reviewing their reminder bullet points, the user can hit record and practice reciting their original script.
These are wise words. Enterprising men quote them. Don't act surprised, you guys, because I wrote them.
After the user's done, they can just hit stop and then click play to listen back to their recording.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
By clicking on the volume and pitch tabs, the user can see how their voice changes over time and identify moments when they were possibly too quiet or too monotone. The Words tab matches the user's audio transcription with their original script, highlighting the words that were mentioned. The user can then rate how difficult the card was for them to recite and remember. The app uses a Leitner system learning method to show hard cards more frequently and easier cards less. So with regular practice, this spaced repetition technique can help users to memorize all of their content faster and be able to deliver their speech in a more confident and engaging tone. The last use case I'll mention could be a presentation or meeting where users are expected to field questions from their audience. Big Talk has a performance mode which allows users to easily browse and scroll through all of the points that they've prepared as and when they need to. By turning on the listening function, the app can activate the user's microphone and listen out for certain keywords that the user had previously tagged.
So can you talk a little bit more about your process if possible? Sure. So I began my illustration process by first scanning.
When a keyword has been detected, it will appear at the top of the screen and the card carousel will automatically slide to that talking point. This function comes in really handy during those moments when your mind just goes completely blank in the middle of a talk, and it can easily be switched on and off at the user's convenience.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Now I would like to introduce Stephanie, who is also an MFA student.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Murphy, and I'll be introducing my thesis project, Office Sense. I am an emergent digital artist, and my current work focuses on exploring, focuses on using new technologies to explore the relationship between mental health and our environment. So for this thesis project, I ended up creating 2 ambient videos that could be used to help relax people at work. We spend so much of our time at work, it makes sense to have that time be as enjoyable as possible. Yet many people are having a negative workplace experience. And this is partly due to the working spaces that they are in. And especially now in a time of COVID, we are forced to be productive in stressful situations, while also having to transform our home spaces into work offices. So what are ambient videos? To me, ambient videos must be attractive to the general public, and they must be as ignorable as they are interesting. They must enhance the environment by creating a sense of calm in the viewer. And if played in an office or work environment, the balance between relaxation, productivity, and distraction must be met. And if this sort of definition of ambience sounds familiar, it's because I've taken a lot of inspiration from the artist Brian Eno. Brian Eno is a musician who has done a lot of work with ambient music and actually coined the term. But he's also explored ambient visuals. I really love his piece, Mistaken Memories of Middle Manhattan, because he's chosen to look at clouds in the skyline, but from a new perspective. So what qualities define ambient visuals developed in Office Sense? I think that they should have elements of nature in these videos, meaning plants, rocks, or sky. And I chose elements of nature not only because I think natural elements are attractive to most people, but also because walking through nature and even viewing nature digitally helps people relax. And I chose to focus on close-up pictures of plants. And even though people might not understand exactly what they are looking at, they will understand that they are plants because of the organic textures. And I'm really interested in how familiar objects can become unfamiliar very quickly, depending on the perspective that they are looking at. The second element is the use of slow movement. Slow movement is not distracting versus fast movement would be. And I think slow-moving visuals can be meditative as it provides a space of contemplation. There should be no surprises in the visuals. And I focused on finding slow-moving textures, and that process was very interesting. And the third element is the use of overlaying visuals, meaning you can have multiple images or videos stacked on top of each other, but still be able to see everything at the same time. And I think that provides an element of abstraction. But I don't think these qualities that I've defined are the only solutions for ambient visuals. These are just the solutions that happen to work for me. And I see these videos being played while you're working. So perhaps you're playing them on your laptop while you're working on paper or on your computer, or perhaps you're projecting them onto an office environment. And the results I got from these videos were mostly positive. People felt relaxed and peaceful while watching this experience. And I conducted user tests in a variety of different ways throughout this process, using a variety of different types of interviews and forms. And in this final example, I simply asked viewers how they felt while they were watching the videos and how they would describe the scene. And luckily, all the results were very positive. They felt comfortable and relaxed. But my journey to the creation of ambient videos was not immediate. I knew in the beginning of this thesis process that I wanted to intervene in small office spaces, like this one, that were small and cluttered and had limited access to natural light, partly because these are the types of spaces I found myself working in. I also knew that I wanted to work with nature. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, but I spent several years in Colorado completing my undergraduate degree. And what I found fascinating is that people there are so excited to really go and explore outside and take care of the environment. And then when I ended up traveling back to New York, I was able to see how people brought nature into their environment, even though there weren't as many opportunities to go outside. So I was really interested in how we can bring nature inside. And I was also very inspired by this project called Mediated Atmosphere, which is created by an MIT Media Lab group by researchers Nan Zhou, Asaf Azaria, and Joseph Paradiso. And they used the body signals to actually control a person's environment. So if they noticed that your heart rate was increasing, they might dim the lights and show a video of a forest. And so I became really interested in intervening in these smaller spaces and bringing nature inside to make these spaces more enjoyable. And I became really interested in learning about how light affects your body. So I started experimenting with that. I did small experiments to try and get rid of the terrible fluorescent lighting that tends to be in offices. For example, I used this plastic laser cut covering to put over desk lamps in order to make the light warmer. And I also started experimenting with other senses like sound or smell. And I learned that a multi-sensorial experience really helps transform the environment and makes users think that they're perhaps in a different location. But all the while, I was creating videos to experiment with light and to give people something else to look at besides their office cubicles. And I eventually discovered that these videos had to be ambient, so I started focusing my thesis on ambient videos. And this was sort of my video process throughout the year. As you can see, I'm really exploring with nature elements and overlaying visuals and different types of colors. And all these videos led me to my final video, which is a simple video of ink moving down an aspen tree. And while I can't show you this whole video, I can show you brief screenshots because this is a very long 10-minute piece. And I experimented with using the texture of ink and the texture of the different aspen trees. And I was really fascinated with how many different types of textures there are on the same tree. And I was really interested in ink because of how sort of otherworldly it appeared to me and how almost alive it seemed to me. And that leads me to the second ambient video, which was really an exploration of moss and bubbles. And as you can see, here's the storyline. And these are the textures that I focused on, the close-up pictures of moss and the close-up pictures of video. As for the future of this project, I would really like to figure out different ways that I can create ambient videos, what other sort of qualities ambient videos can have, and what other spaces these types of videos could be in. And that's pretty much my presentation. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to my thesis professors, Harpreet and Loretta.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I will now like to introduce our last speaker for the first session of the night, Sonia, who is also an MFA student.
Hi all, with me. Well, I'm Sonia Colunga, and I'm an experienced designer and image maker, creative technologist, and cheers to my friends and family. I'm gonna show you my work. Wait, okay, so can you see? So Multidimensional Portals is the name of my project, and it's an experience that helps us immerse in ourselves, allowing us the space to travel through the different dimensions of our soul to find out what parts of us are in harmony and what areas need a little tuning. This is an interactive multisensorial experience that engages sound and color light vibrations and specific hand positions to balance mind, body, and spirit. We all know that we are more than our body, and all human beings are holistic and interdependent in body, emotions, mind, and spirit. Our health is the result of the harmony of the whole. We all have self-healing powers, the powers of overcoming diseases and becoming self-reliant, and capacity not only the physical, but also the mental and emotional aspects of health. And there are tools in the world that we can use as aid for our benefit. And for this project, these tools are sounds and color lights, the practice of mudras, that are hand positions, chanting, and breathing techniques to balance 7 vital energy centers in our body that help to regulate all its processes, from organ function to the immune system and emotions. These energy centers are called chakras, and each chakra is an energetic organ that links various aspects of the physical body to its non-physical counterparts. When one or more indicate under or overactivity, it means we have a blockage. And what these tools do is to help unblock the chakras by sending vibrations that resonate with each of them. And I'm happy to explain any question you have about the chakras in the Q&A part. So healing through vibrations. Sound and color are vibrating forces consisting of waves of energy that, when applied to the body-mind system, can make a significant impact in the system, creating a state of harmony and healing. Another aspect of sound and light healing concerns the role of altered state of consciousness. Sound and light vibrations often induce a trance state in which everyday consciousness recedes into the background awareness, while interior states of consciousness move into the foreground. This shift in consciousness helps to facilitate healing experiences. When the person is experiencing sound and light healing, the vibrations go through them, and they get to places of silence and peace where the mind is able to look at things that have been difficult to look at before. So for the sound, we use vocal as mantric chants and machine-generating sounds that are binaural beats. Binaural beats are to train the brain to a specific frequency. And in this case, we use theta brain waves because in these states, the senses are withdrawn from the external world and focus on signals originating from within. The chants are certain sounds that are particularly high in vocal harmonics that can stimulate and change the cortex of the brain and the nervous system. These chants cause the left and right hemispheres of the brain to synchronize. They're called bija mantras, which consist of single syllable sounds. And here in number 7, that corresponds to the 7 chakras. The syllables and their correspondences are lam for the root, bam, the belly, ram, solar plexus, yam, the heart, hum, the throat, sham, the third eye, and the crown. The sounds are pronounced with a soft ah. For example, lam will be lam. Chanting as a vocalized meditation concentrates all of our attention in the present moment and can cleanse and clear our chakras, creating a relaxed atmosphere, relieve anxiety, and bring mental clarity and inner peace. Making vocal sounds and the machine generating the sounds at the same time strengthen the technique and its effect on the person. We also use color light therapy because light affects both the physical and etheric bodies. And each color of the light spectrum has unique wavelengths and oscillations that, when combined with a light source and selectively applied to impaired organs or life systems, alter our personal vibrations, affecting also different physical symptoms. The mudras, we use the hands because mudras are hand gestures that impart the expression of thought and emotion. And the hand postures of the mudras which channel breath and energy into various areas of the physical, mental, and energy body. The user experience, so how does it work? The user enters the room and is positioned in front of a camera and puts wireless headphones on to listen to binaural beats. The LED lights are installed around the ceiling and they shift colors when the user changes the hand positions, the mudras. And also posters with the figures of the mudras and the names of their corresponding chakras and mantras are displayed on the walls on the room for the user to reference information about the chakras. So it's available before entering the room. These are the posters, and then machine learning is used to track the body positions and mudras relating to each of the chakras while the user interacts with the installation. When the machine recognizes the mudra, it automatically relates it with its corresponding chakra, and then it sends the signal to activate the healing vibrations of its corresponding color and sound. The sounds and lights are synchronized, and each of the sounds and color of lights are directly related to its corresponding chakra. The technology used, for the software, I applied JavaScript, a programming language using machine learning through Teachable Machine, which is an online-based machine learning platform. And for the hardware, I use a Shure Kinect webcam because of its depth sensor with high resolutions and frame rates. And here is a little of the video. Well, I hope I could represent what I was talking about to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sonia, and thank you everyone for all the wonderful presentations. Now, I would like to start the Q&A session, which will be moderated by Glenn Cantave. The Q&A session will be 15 minutes. After the Q&A, we will have a 5-minute break to get ready for the second session of the night. Now, I would like to remind everyone that if you are not speaking, please mute yourself and turn off video feed to improve stream quality. Now, to introduce Glenn Cantave is an activist, performance artist, and social entrepreneur who uses immersive technology to highlight the narratives of the oppressed. He leads Movers and Shakers NYC, a nonprofit working on an augmented reality workbook that teaches middle school English students about underrepresented icons. He is a TED resident, Camelback Fellow, and member at NYC Inc., an arts tech incubator supported by the New Museum. New Inc., my apologies. His TED Talk, How Augmented Realities is Changing Activism, was featured on the homepage of TED.com last July. Karen will be sharing the link of the TED Talk in the chat if you're interested. Now, Glenn, if there's anything you want to say about the theme tonight, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, y'all. Peace and blessings. Yeah, I mean, all these projects were really different and unique in very, very special ways. And I mean, overall, I just think it's really interesting in terms of how you've dove into a high level of something that can have legitimate practical applications that can either serve as art itself, or they can serve as something that's useful, whether it's in the workplace for productivity or for planning at home. So just on that note, I just want to dive right into the questions. So the first question is for Ran. And so my question goes into your process for figuring out emotion in general. So like, obviously with your prototype, it seems as if speed and frequency are the main factors that determine the emotion. But let's say if time and money were no objects, and if you were to work on a version 2, what aspects of touch specifically would you incorporate in a version 2 so that it's more dynamic?
Like during my research, I know that the haptic feedback, they have like two parts. One is more dynamic, one is more like for skin feeling. And like we all know that right now haptics more focused on vibration, like haptic imaging. And so what I'm focusing on is more for the motion, and just people have, like, our skin have the feeling of the motions. So for my research, because it is based on the human touch research, so what I'm trying to do is mimic what the gestures recorded in that study. Like in that study, they show that human most commonly used gestures for conveying fear is squeezing and trembling. So I try to use the motion of the servo, like of the tactor, the machinery stuff, to try to mimic that kind of gesture. That's how I try to use the robot to convey emotions. So and right now, all the functions are coded by myself. I mentioned that I make a dashboard like online, and I plan. I can have a workshop later after the pandemic. So I will ask a bunch of people. They can use the dashboard to program their own EmotiTactor. Then I can create it, and like I can collect all the data and see like how other people program their own emotions, and then can get a better result.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting, especially if someone who's really paranoid versus someone who's really zen, like what is their definition of frantic? What is their definition of excited or whatever? Like, yeah, having a wider distribution of data points there would be phenomenal. Okay. So the way I want to do is I want to go through one time just to make sure I touch on everyone for time, and then open it up to the audience. But this is an awesome project. Congratulations. All right. Next question is for Masaki. First off, like living in that closed space with another person must be incredibly challenging. And I think it's awesome that you were agile enough to figure out a way to make lemonade out of lemons, I guess you could say. But my question is, when you went into this deep dive into your past with yourself and your partner, were there certain patterns that emerged by location that you think that other couples would see? And then based upon those patterns, how do you think that your average, whether it's a couple or a friend, could like take those patterns and implement that into trip planning that's different from how we do trip planning right now?
Well, yeah, actually in my project, most challenging part is actually, from home, I cannot use a research outside, or I cannot do some very big scale social projects. So in my design process, I use actually myself as a user, and actually test in me and my partner. So but actually by online, actually I tested several friends, couples, and some patterns come out. Some, for example, like one couple calling the old friends at the time, or like some people like still enjoying the like past context, and some like me or some other couples like creating some future trouble after quarantine. So I'd like to incorporate this insight into some guiding UI, and I distribute it into the public. So like some UI prompting the question, or some like this encouraging these prosocial actions to the potential user. So this is my actually in progress of extracting these patterns and incorporate it into the next iteration in my plan.
Very cool. All right, thank you. All right, so Iman, so one of the critiques that I have of Western medicine in general is that it's very cookie cutter and it lacks customization. And so I appreciate your emphasis on customizing specific experiences for self-care. So I have a two-pronged question in terms of, I am an essential oil user myself. So my question is like, in terms of the blends that you customize together, is there a process to that to figure out what works for the user? And then in terms of the visualization process, that's different for everyone else, but do you have a framework that you follow for the visualization process?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the essential oils, what I did is that I collaborated with another African creative. Her name is Rena, and she's really cool. She's a multi-talented artist, but one thing she does is essential oil blends. And so what I did is that I told her the type of atmospheres that I wanted to cater for people, you know, and I just left her at that. I just let her work her magic, and which she did. And she came up with 3 different blends for 3 different kind of moods. Relaxation, coziness, and creativity, because these are 3 things I thought people might come in needing when asked to do some visualization exercise. So that's how the blends were catered, and she did some research on, you know, which sense provoked what in us, in humans. And so that's how she created the blends. And then to your second question about the framework and how I build that around, you know, the diversity of things that people can visualize and the diversity of ways in which they can do that. What I focused on is, one, understanding who I'm talking to. One of the first steps in my process, whether it's in the physical experience or the remote one, I ask the person to share what is important to them. Like in a year, what is it that they want to be doing and what is it that they want to be evolving around. And then that's what I use to guide the visualization with my voice. So it's easier in the in-person experience because I can directly tailor that and even use the words that they use to kind of help mirror that. But then that's substituted in the remote experience by using photos, because people every day or so save photos that reflect the lifestyle and the life in general that they want to create for themselves, which can in turn inform their visualization going forward. So that's kind of how I substituted for my in-person presence in the remote experience.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Rebecca. So first off, I wish I had this tool right now. I was giving a pitch, I bombed it, and I was like, I gotta just get better. So big ups to you on that. If it is gonna be like out there, I will be a user for sure. So I could see how a group like Toastmasters could use your feature where you have like the undulations of the voice to critique different speeches for people who are novices. But my question would be, is there a way that like a novice that doesn't understand anything about public speaking could also like have that feature sort of baked in where they have someone guide them through the undulations of the voice?
Yeah, I think that's something that I'm definitely thinking about as I kind of continue working on the app. So at the moment, I kind of did a lot of user testing in the first semester to see what kind of voice feedback people would actually appreciate. And volume and pitch seem to be like the most popular because like monotone speaking is kind of, it's something that you don't know that you have until you get that kind of response. So I think for when I continue like testing and seeing what other kind of analysis I can do on voice, I definitely like to incorporate a sort of guided feature to kind of maybe show where you should pick up your tone or when you should raise your volume within the speech. But yeah, I'm still kind of working on this, and this is like a product that I'm going to continue to build and test.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm really excited to see where this goes and want to use it.
Thank you.
All right, and Stephanie, I thought your project was interesting, especially because from a personal perspective, like when I meditate or like try and cater my new home office environment, like sometimes it sets too chill of a vibe and it's harder to get things done. So my question is that when you tested with users, have you gotten any sort of similar feedback at that level? or is there like an ideal place where a work environment can be comfortable and low stress, but at the same time, you can use the tools that you've made to still foster a productive environment? Stephanie?
I just realized I didn't unmute myself, but that's an awesome question. Yeah, I think it's been challenging to find this balance between being too relaxed and being too productive. And you essentially have to make the videos interesting, but not too interesting and almost boring, which is a little odd to sort of make things for, but that's sort of what you have to do. And in the beginning, yeah, my user testing was, it was really hard because some people found the visuals too relaxing or too busy. Mostly they found the visuals too distracting, so they couldn't be productive. But as I sort of was able to continue building on these iterations, I think I was able to find that balance more by creating these relaxing visuals, but they're repetitive. So if you have to leave and go and work on stuff, it's no big deal. So it was a little boring, but there's always something new.
Cool. Thank you. And congratulations.
Thanks.
All right. And Sonia, so installation was really interesting. My question goes back to the basics, really, in terms of having people understand the basis of what you're doing. So like, I get it and I would use it, but I'm just curious if you could break down for those who might be unfamiliar, like how people figure out certain vibrations, whether it's through sound or color, correspond with certain chakras, which correspond to certain energies.
You mean like how will they know, like when they get into the installation? Like how will they know?
No. What I'm saying is before walking to the installation, right? For those who aren't familiar with frequency, chakras, all that, I appreciate how you gave like the breakdown through the images. But even at a more fundamental level, there are some people that might understand the intersection between frequency and how it relates to chakras, how it relates to certain energies, both in terms of light and sound, light, sound, and color.
Right. Yeah. Like so, before they go into the installation, I give them a little like explanation before they go. Like I know like some people like don't know a lot about chakras, like because in user testing, like I got that a lot. But so I give them a little bit of introduction about that, about the sounds and the mudras and all that. And also like in the room, they have like, they have the posters of the chakras, like the mudra, which is for each chakra, and the sound, which is for each chakra. And also like at the end of the experience, they get information about it.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I responded to your question. Yeah.
Just to bring it all in, the question most directly is for light, like what is the connection with a certain frequency of light and what that means in terms of your energy?
Okay. Well, light as in color. Well, like because like light also have wavelengths and oscillations that are translated into vibrations. So like it's energy too. So when they interact, like when we interact with light, like it also affects us as it will affect the sound. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. And wherever that room is, I would go. It's really cool. Cool. All right. Well, it's 7:15 on the dot. I wish we could open it up for questions for others, but the powers that be told me that I'm on a strict timeline. So thank you all so much for having me. Thank you for sharing your projects, and congratulations to all of the thesis participants. Peace and blessings, y'all.
Yeah.